Hi, I'm Davy. I'm awesome. And welcome to Davy's Awesome Wrestling, where I review wrestling-related things all from the perspective of a fan, not an insider. And this week we had Impact Wrestling's Rebellion 2023, a night that was made interesting by the fact that we knew we were going to have two brand new champions. Let's get into it. The opening match, an Ultimate X Tag Team Championship match. Always a fan of Ultimate X. Whether it's 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 5-6, every man for themselves, it's always exciting. And this time it was the Motor City Machine Guns challenging champions Bullet Club, Ace Austin and Chris Bay. It was a great opener. Of course, two awesome teams, again in an Ultimate X match. X Division style wrestlers. And of course, Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley being the ones with the most experience with Ultimate X, especially Ultimate X tag team matches, they used that experience against Chris Bay and Ace Austin. But it didn't work, as Bay was able to unhook the belts and throw them down to his partner, Ace Austin, making them the winners and still tag team champions. But like I said, this was a great way to open it, and this was a great match that had plenty of build-up. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Yeah! The next match, handicap match if you will, with Dirty Dongo, Digital Media Champion Joe Hendry, and returning Santino Marella versus all 4 members of The Design. It was good, but the match itself was actually pretty standard. Until the end when Sami Callihan finally turned on The Design. After he hit Diener with a bat, walked out of the ring, Santino Marella got the Cobra on Diener and got the pin, making them the winners. But like I said, honestly, up until that point, there wasn't much interesting about this match. But that was interesting enough to boost this to a 3 out of 5. Yeah! Then a Last Rites match, which is another name for casket match. Which I gotta say, I hate when they take an old match and give it a new name. It's annoying. It's kind of like when I was sitting here with my son one time and we were watching WWE and they were saying the match was either going to be a no-holds-barred match or Extreme Rules match or a street fight. And he was asking me what the difference was, and all I could say is the name. But this one was to end the feud between Eddie Edwards and PCO. But I will say, it was good. PCO is definitely the kind of person that can pull off a casket match, being the whole French-Canadian Frankenstein thing. And of course it was brutal, as we would expect. You know, weapons, dives onto the ring apron and such. And towards the end, Eddie Edwards' wife, Alicia Edwards, got involved, hitting PCO with a shovel. But it backfired as PCO grabbed the shovel, and Eddie Edwards went in for a super kick and missed and hit his wife. So this led to PCO now using the shovel on Eddie Edwards, and then choke slamming him to the casket, making him the winner. Like I said, it was a good match. And I say you have to have a certain type of personality to pull off a casket match. PCO does. I would give it a good 4 out of 5. Yeah! Then for the X Division Championship, a 3-way elimination match. Which for once, I will say, this kinda sort of had build-up. It was Mike Bailey versus Jonathan Gresham versus Trey Miguel. I say sort of had build-up because Mike Bailey and Jonathan Gresham have been wrestling just for the pride of deciding which one is the better wrestler. Jonathan Gresham had won once. Mike Bailey won once. And while they were having their rubber match, Trey Miguel, for no reason, decided to jump in. So it was decided he's going to defend his title against both of them. So like I said, it had kind of sort of had some build-up for a couple of weeks. And it was good. Not great. For the first elimination, Jonathan Gresham had Mike Bailey in a figure 4. And while he had him in the figure 4, Trey Miguel went to the top rope and did a top rope Meteora onto Jonathan Gresham and pinned him while he still had Mike Bailey locked up in a figure 4. So now it came down to just Mike Bailey and Trey Miguel. And they wrestled back and forth for a little bit until Trey Miguel got a roll-up and held onto Mike Bailey's tights until he got the 3 count and retained his X Division Championship. Like, honestly, like I said, it was good, but it wasn't thrilling. Enough to give it another 3 out of 5. Yeah! Then the match of the night. Hardcore War. Team Bully Ray and Team Tommy Dreamer. The rules are as such. 2 competitors start the match for 3 minutes. Every 90 seconds, a new competitor comes out from one of the teams. Of course, Bully Ray's team won the man advantage. The match cannot end until every participant is in the ring. But once every competitor from both teams are in the ring, it can end by a pin or submission. No disqualification. Basically, it's a War Games match, but without 2 rings and no cage. The competitors on Team Bully Ray, Moose, Brian Myers, Kenny King, Masa Slamovich, and Bully Ray himself. Team Dreamer, Frankie Kazarian, Bhupinder Gujar, Killer Kelly, Yuya Amora, and Tommy Dreamer. And the order of how I just announced them is the order they all came out. But I will say this, it was kind of cool when Killer Kelly came out, and she came with a staple gun. And she used it on all 3 members of Team Bully that were in the ring at the time. She used it on Kenny King's head, Brian Myers' leg, and Moose's. And then for good measure, she used it on her own head. As far as the match itself, it was really good. It was brutal. It was hardcore, as you would expect. And even the story it tells. Because you can't take this away from Bully Ray and Tommy Dreamer. Even though, yeah, okay, they've gotten up in age. They don't take as many bumps. They're not as fast as they used to be. They are still both expert storytellers. And it ended when Bully Ray was going to do a dive onto Tommy Dreamer through a table from a ladder. And Bully Ray wanted the referees around to hold the ladder. He was trying to order them to do it. But instead, their frustrations from dealing with Bully Ray for the past several months led to the referees attacking Bully Ray, which gave Tommy Dreamer the time to get up, put Bully Ray on the table, and the referees happily held the ladder for Tommy Dreamer as he dove down onto Bully Ray and got the pin for Team Dreamer. Like I said, this was a fantastic match with a lot of drama behind it. Easily, I give this one a 5 out of 5. Then to decide the vacated Impact World Championship, as was announced at Sacrifice, Josh Alexander would not be able to defend his championship due to injury, so the championship would be decided between 2 people who were supposed to face Josh Alexander. At Multiverse United, he was supposed to face Kushida, and if he had beaten Kushida, he was supposed to face Steve Macklin at Rebellion. So instead, the match is between Steve Macklin and Kushida. But before the match started, they had announced that they had a special commentator, Nick Aldis, who's recently been released from the NWA and was a free agent and has officially signed with Impact Wrestling. I can't say I'm crazy about that move, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The match itself, it was really good. I mean, it was 2 great wrestlers. Steve Macklin and Kushida are both really good. It wasn't too predictable. Like, I predicted that Steve Macklin was going to be the one to win. He is Impact Wrestling's top heel, and has been their top heel for a while. However, through parts of this match, you did wonder if Kushida was going to be the one to win. But, after 2 KIAs, Steve Macklin did get the pin over Kushida, got the win, and is the new Impact Wrestling World Champion. And in heelish form, he demanded that Scott D'Amore come out and be the one to hand him the Impact Wrestling Championship, which Scott D'Amore obliged. He's a man of his word. But as if that wasn't enough, Steve Macklin attacked Scott D'Amore afterwards, leading to Nick Aldis getting in the ring and confronting Steve Macklin. Which I will say, I like that they're building up for a match between Nick Aldis and Steve Macklin. It should be a good match. I give this one a 4 out of 5. Yeah! Then to crown a new Knockouts champion. As we had learned at Sacrifice, Mickie James was injured. She couldn't defend her title at Sacrifice like she was supposed to. And it was announced that if she could not defend her championship by Rebellion, that the winner of the 4-way match at Multiverse United would take on Jordynne Grace for the championship. If she could defend her title, it would be a 3-way. Well, on Impact, before Rebellion, Mickie James came out and had to make the sad announcement that she could not defend her championship at Rebellion. She was not medically cleared. So the title was vacated, and it would be decided between the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo and Jordynne Grace. And obviously this match was fantastic. It was 2 great women wrestlers, and in my opinion, one of those women wrestlers, Deonna Purrazzo, is the best women's wrestler in wrestling at the time. I would put her skill and her ability to tell a story against any top women's wrestler in any company. Yes, I make that bold statement. Put her ability up against somebody in WWE, AEW, Japan, I don't care. In my opinion, the best women's wrestler in the game right now is the virtuosa Deonna Purrazzo. But honestly, from the moment it was announced, I thought that this was going to be a way for Jordynne Grace to win the title back and continue her dominant reign because they were pushing her as being so dominant. But it was after a Queen's Gambit that Deonna Purrazzo got the pin over Jordynne Grace and got the win, making her a 3-time Knockouts champion. Which I was glad they went that way. But again, what I love about Deonna Purrazzo is just her ability to tell a story. She doesn't do the flashiest moves in the world, but everything she does counts. And everything she does makes sense, and you get locked into her matches. She can't have a bad match. Now, depending on how bad her opponent is, she can have an okay match, but I can't think of a time she's had a bad one. And I'm happy that she's once again the Knockouts champion. I give this one another 5 out of 5. Yeah! So, Impact Wrestling Rebellion 2023 overall was a very good night of wrestling. However, that's kind of the problem is Impact Wrestling's very inconsistent. The matches themselves, they were all good. There's a few threes, a few fours, a couple of fives. And this time, all of them had some build-up, some story being told leading up to the match. Even though the X Division one didn't have much, at least it had something. Like, I will give him that. That is an improvement, considering every event for as long as I can remember, there's been literally, like, no build-up to the X Division Championship match. If the X Division Championship is being defended on the card, it's like a filler match, which is not a good thing for a championship. This time it wasn't filler, but again, it wasn't too much build-up. It was more these guys were being built up, and the X Division champion just kind of inserted himself. But it's a start. Everything else, though, had plenty of build-up. The tag team title match had plenty of build-up. The handicap match had plenty of build-up. The Hardcore War probably had the most build-up. And even the 2 championship matches. That was another thing intriguing, was they made it clear over and over again throughout the night. This was the first time ever in wrestling that it was guaranteed that you were going to have 2 brand new world champions, being the Knockouts world champion and the men's world champion. That was intriguing, that was exciting, but it's not like they did that on purpose. But however, how they went, I'm actually very happy about who they gave the championships to. Steve Macklin is the top heel and has been the top heel for a long time. I was honestly hoping he was the one who was going to end Josh Alexander's reign the right way, but I can't really fault them for that. Injuries happen. Like I said, Deonna Purrazzo, in my opinion, is the best women's wrestler in wrestling right now. And, of course, it is a nice touch that, in real life, Steve Macklin is married to Deonna Purrazzo, so it's like a husband and wife championship thing. That's kind of cool. Now, I mentioned how Nick Aldis is officially back in Impact Wrestling. I don't think that's a good move for Nick Aldis. Back when he was Magnus, he's already been the Impact Wrestling champion, so it's really nothing new for him. Not to mention, I was really thinking with him leaving the MWA, it was time for him to go to the big leagues. Because he's definitely somebody that can thrive in the big leagues, whether it's AEW or WWE. Although I gotta say, I wouldn't want him in WWE right now, because he would just be some guy they built up to feed to Roman Reigns, because we gotta make him look strong. But hey, once they accept that their ratings are dropping because people are sick of that one story, he could be a big-time player in WWE. I absolutely could see him being a big player in WWE or in AEW. I could easily see him being a main eventer. But instead, he's going to Impact Wrestling where they just really pretend they're the big leagues. But as far as the event overall, like I said, it was really good. It's just that's the problem with Impact is they have really good ones and they have filler events. In my opinion, going forward, if I were Impact, I'd get rid of the filler events. They're not helping. In fact, if anything, somebody watches one of those thinking like, oh, this is a big event, and gets very disappointed, it turns them off to the product. This is the kind of stuff they need to do consistently. Real rivalries, real build-up, leading to great matches. That, in my opinion, should be what they focus on. And hopefully they will in the future. But as far as this right now, Impact Wrestling Rebellion 2023, easily give it a good 4 out of 5. So yeah, but that's my wrestling review this week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did, make sure to hit like. Hit subscribe, hit that little bell so you get notifications when I post new videos. And leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of Impact Wrestling Rebellion 2023. Love you guys.